Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of Beautiful and kinda wet, but kinda not at the same time, British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Stu Panther.
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And I'm Naveed Mashinchi.
We have a feast of football to chat to you about tonight. Pretty much all Whitecaps related this week. We're going to talk about the Whitecaps draw with San Jose on Saturday night. Got to chat about that amazing come-from-behind victory on Wednesday as well, because we haven't covered that yet. We're going to look around the playoff picture in the MLS West. A couple of other little tidbits surrounding the Whitecaps this week. And look ahead to what already feels like a playoff match on Wednesday night against Minnesota United. And we're going to have a couple of tunes for you from this month's Artist of the Month, the chats, and of course, a very interesting and some may say controversial wavelength that we've got coming up later in the show as well. But before we get into all of that, we're going to continue the gift that keeps on giving, or at least for another 5 shows, because we're rapidly running out of our box of 2011 Upper Deck MLS trading card packs. It's okay, I'm sure Steve's got the 2012 ones coming up for us next as well. I'm sure the listeners are hoping he doesn't. But yeah, we've got 5 packs left to open. If you're a new listener, we're opening a pack a week because we know it makes great radio. And we're picking our best team as the teams come out. And I've got the best team, but in a public vote, Zach would win the public vote because I have some hated figures in my team.
I believe both times my team has been, both times we've evaluated this, I've come out on top.
Yeah, that's the public vote because they hate my team.
I don't think, do you call Stephen Egan the public vote? I think that's more the
But there have been a lot of changes since then, so that's a long time ago.
And I have Landy Cakes and Wando in my starting 11, so I'm never getting votes. So, although maybe after his miss late on tonight, maybe folk are liking Wando a little bit more. But let's get straight into the cards. My favourite thing is this sound. Oh, it just does it.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
I have
I'm still recovering.
Midfield forward, although later he did also play in defense. This card is from the Columbus Crew. It's Robbie Rogers.
Oh.
I know you have that one.
Yeah, I've got a midfielder and an RSL and MLS legend. It's Ned Grabavoy.
Oh, I don't have that one.
Yeah, that's a good player.
I can't repeat the chant that Portland always sang for him. He's former Bundesliga player, former Premier League player. But he's most known in these parts for representing the Flounders, the bald man, Casey Keller.
Oh, well, I've got a goalkeeper next as well. She's a keeper. It's Nicole Barnhart from a team I have never heard of, FC Gold Pride. What?
Oh, I never even heard of them. They're probably are either a relocated team or something like that.
This was her 3rd year with them, and I've never heard of them. They're in the WPS. I mean, my knowledge on women's football is lacking a little bit, but at least I've usually heard of the teams.
They were based out of San Francisco, and 2010 was actually their last year. They dissolved, so they're no longer around.
Oh,
They were only around for 3 years.
My next card is from Michael's former favorite Scottish team players side. It's Brian Smith from the Wiz. I mean, Kansas City.
Oh. I've got a super draft card next. Houston Dynamo. It's a man I've wanted here in Vancouver. We've never got him yet. It's Will Bruin.
Nice.
Oh,
He was
I,
actually a pick of mine for the mock draft I did for the Whitecaps that first year
Ah.
instead of an Enchov.
Get your guns, get your shirts off, and let the camera, the photo shoot begin. I have former Vancouver Whitecap, Breck Shea.
Oh. Can
likes
he
his
do
gun.
it on a Tuesday night in Stoke? The answer was no.
No.
He likes his guns and hats.
Very and don't forget his beautiful ass.
Okay, I haven't remembered that. No,
The picture of him and his wife with the donkey.
okay, I don't recall that one.
I don't
picture at
remember
all.
that.
Oh, I've
I
got that
remember.
saved on my phone. It's that beautiful a donkey.
Am I next or are you next? You're next.
I'm next. I wish this guy was a donkey because it would have been a nice little segue. But I mean, it's fitting from playing San Jose tonight. It's a defender. It's Iko Para.
Oh, I don't have that one yet. That's a good one.
Good one.
I have Houston Dynamo midfielder Corey Ash.
Houston Dynamo. A guy well known, which I think Zach has, former Whitecap, ever so briefly, Philadelphia Union midfielder, Sebastian Ledoux. Fred
yeah.
Gwynn from the Munster lookalike.
Completing
It's not a very big ass Breck he has. It's a very small one in the picture.
Oh, yes, it's a tiny little ass, but it's a beautiful
Yeah,
ass.
it's miniature ass.
completing another all new pack to me is someone holding up a pair of golden boots because she scored a lot of goals. It's Marta.
Oh,
I think I
wow.
have her.
You do.
Yeah. My last one is another goalkeeper, Chicago Fire, Andrew Dykstra.
Oh yeah, I got him.
So exciting cards, only 4 packs to go. Will we complete our set? That is the big burning question that Zach and me have got. But enough of that. Let's get on to the football chat now. That is what you're all here for. And normally we start with the latest game, which was played tonight. We're recording this on Saturday night. But before that, I have to rewind. I hadn't really planned on doing a recap of the midweek game because we hadn't done a midweek show. But when it's a game like that, how can you not talk a little bit about the Whitecaps' fantastic come-from-behind victory in Portland on Wednesday night? Piggy Park went all quiet. It was lovely to hear. The only big disappointment of the night was that Whitecaps fans couldn't be down there in numbers to enjoy it, which was the heartbreaking thing. But what a comeback, what team spirit, just what a team in general. For you guys, we'll start with Naveed. Can you remember a better sort of comeback that the Whitecaps have had? Or where does that rank for you in the Whitecaps MLS era, just in terms of games?
Comeback. Wow, I actually can't think of a comeback like. I don't know. Maybe you guys, Zach, Steve, even Michael. I don't know. You guys remember a comeback like this?
I can't
actually
remember
think of-
anything like that. If they'd gone on and won that
Well,
KC game in that very
KC,
first year,
Camilo, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that- if they'd won that, that would have probably rivaled it because that was so dramatic and so late. But
And we were there as well.
Yeah.
We haven't really showed a history of comebacks. Like I honestly can't recall
No.
anything there. Like it's hard to, because usually they were a team that got ahead and then they held on to the lead. It was like I could probably bring up a couple of games where they gave away, but it's hard to remember
Yeah.
some of those ones that I know. I think there was a game against New York City Red Bulls on the road that they came, that was pretty exciting when they came in for
Yeah.
that. But it wasn't I don't recall a 2-goal comeback for a win.
No.
no,
That's the thing. That's where the huge result in this one.
Yeah, I was at the Dead Bull one with I think Dr. Greg Klazer scored an own goal, and then
Oh yeah.
someone
Yeah.
in Miller, someone in Kenny Miller.
It's Kumiento. Kumiento scored a goal in that one.
Oh, that
I
was.
think
a
it was
different game.
Oh no,
That's
this was
a different-
late.
different.
This was later. Yeah.
Oh,
This was a later
yeah.
one.
The Cumento one, that was a good one. That was, I think it was a tie though.
Oh, that was a tie. I can't. It's hard. Everything's so melded together. It's hard
I
to recall
know.
a specific game.
So, like in football, especially modern day football, there's so many superlative used. There's so much hyperbole thrown about. But I mean, everything that is thrown at the team for this second half performance, I feel is justified. Am I wrong in saying that when you look back at 11 seasons in MLS, this is one of the best wins that they've ever had, and because of what it could mean, it could even be the biggest win at this point of the season in a game that wasn't to secure something. I can't think of too many bigger wins.
I will say the game where Waston scored late in Colorado. That was it was in BC Place, but against
The
Colorado,
playoffs,
that was huge.
2015 or 15,
Yeah.
14.
That
Yeah.
secured a playoff spot though.
Yeah,
secure-
that secured the
but a win like that. Obviously, again, not a comeback win, but it was a win. I would say that was a huge one. And this
Yeah.
one had the obviously there's still games to play, but it had that feel of getting the team to another level. The way they came back against Portland.
It was such a huge win in terms of playoff standings because for the second straight match day, the Whitecaps headed into a game with every other team around them having won and picked up like 3 massive points. RSL didn't play, but from the teams that did play, they all got points. The biggest of which being Minnesota, who came back from 2-1 down at home to Philly. And I watched that game and it was just tremendous. And we'll obviously talk more about Minnesota later in the show. So they had to come away with something from this. But after that first half, it was such a poor start. They felt flat. They felt off the pace. Jimmy Chara put Portland in the lead 19 minutes in. It was a nice strike from him, but they just hadn't cleared the danger from the lovely lob into the box that Blanco had put in, and the Timbers were on top. I thought they would go on after that, and then just when it looked like the Whitecaps were going to get into half-time just 1 goal down, they give up that second goal. Asprilla made it 2-0, quick interception, quick transition, back of the net after Javane Brown gave the ball away. Heading in at 2-0 down at half time, I thought that's it. It's done and dusted. I did not see them, not so much coming back. I just didn't feel they had anything in their tank to come back. I mean, did anyone hold out any hope apart from Vanni Sartini and the guys who clearly thought they could get back into this?
No, I mean the game was playing out the way I kind of thought it would, but in the end, remember this is not the first time in 2021 where they've had an awful showing or performance or result in the first half where they've like clawed back to get something from the game, whether a draw or a win. But yeah, this is special because it's Portland away, right? Again, even with no fans there, to do what they did there is momentous.
For me,
Yeah.
I thought they had a chance at a draw, but I did not expect a win at all. And it was a very small chance. I would say like 10% chance they could come back for a draw. But I had 0 that they could come back and, win the game outright. And that's the amazing part about the whole thing.
Yeah, no, tons of respect to the guys, staff, players. Obviously, I mean, to me, I think I tweeted out. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I tweeted out, give Vanni Sartini a long-term deal after this one.
Yeah.
And because
He's
I
got
haven't-
this team so motivated.
these
They
guys
bought
exactly.
into everything.
They run through Wolf then. That's for sure. That's one. Yeah.
When you watch that extra time video that it's one of the
brilliant.
best things that the
Brilliant.
Whitecaps do.
Top.
I
yeah.
was ready to run through a wall for him after
Exactly.
listening to that. And it's
Exactly.
like he gets the players so fired up. And obviously we don't know what it was like with Mark in the dressing room, but
Right.
obviously it didn't get the same results that Vanny's been getting from these guys. But he came out and he said to Sarita, the Caps reporter, as he was going out, we're going to win 3-2, mark that down. He fully believed they could get back into the game, and like full credit to him, because
Yeah.
I didn't see where it was coming from. And then it all started. Diber Caicedo, that solo goal,
Woof.
picking it up in his own half, basically being allowed to just run through the timber unchallenged. No one tried to put a foot in or a tackle or anything.
It was like watching my son play FIFA. He gets the ball
Yeah.
and he tries to run with a fast player and get by guys and score.
Right.
It was like watching me defend in FIFA,
Yeah.
or being able to know what buttons to press to actually tackle the person. But I mean, it was a great solo goal. It's one of the goals of the season. It will certainly be up there as a contender.
The one thing I like about the goal, and I know I don't know if he was trying to do this, but it seemed like at one point he kind of slowed down just a slight bit and pushed forward. There was like a small hesitation, and I think that really threw the defender off track. I thought I saw that, and I watched it a couple more times. Kind of looks like he tried to do that. I don't know if he was just trying to gather the ball as well. I don't know what he was trying to do there.
It was just tremendous.
Uh-huh.
Then, like, Cavallini had come off, totally ineffective in this game. He was just as well not being on the pitch. And you bring on Brian White, who you're trying to save a little bit because of the form he's been in. And wow, it's just... I mean, there was so much to like in this goal because Gaspar, and obviously we're going to talk more about Gaspar in the next part from tonight, did so well to take that ball to the byline, and the cross that he got in, it was pinpoint to White's head. He rises unchallenged into the back of the net, 2-2 from nothing. And you're like, at that point, I thought they're going to go on and do this, because it felt like Portland was just completely shell-shocked by that point. Then they took the game to Portland, and it was a bit of an open game because Portland started to get some more attacks. I would have loved to have been a fly in the Timbers locker room after that, because I'm pretty sure Gio Savarese would have absolutely lost his shit with them, and quite rightly so, because they threw that away. And when you look at the table now and other results that's happening, this could be massive for them, because it probably isn't going to cost them a playoff spot, although it still could, but it could cost them a home playoff game. And at this stage of proceedings, that could absolutely be massive. But the winning goal, I know some folk won't like it, because Dahomey gets the ball, he was hitting the deck no matter whether he got touched or not, and obviously he would have been booked for simulation. But he took that. It's what really talented players can do. When they run into the box at speed, they do that stop.
It's smart of them.
Because he knew he was going to. He knew he was going to bring contact, and he was already on his way down. Yeah, already on his way down.
Exactly.
And Rankin bought it, hook, line, and sinker. He just needed the slightest touch, and it was never going to get overruled.
Right.
So, I mean, it was risky. If it hadn't come off, he'd have got a booking and a fine for embellishment. But it's worth it at that point. It's like, okay, so I'll get a booking, so what? But I could win a penalty here. And he won the penalty, and he finished it so coolly as well. And overall, I think that just summed up the team performance, that they had that belief, they had that confidence, they had that swagger. And it's felt such a long time since we've seen that in the Whitecaps team. Robbo's team 2017, probably Robbo's team 2015 certainly had that swagger about them and the confidence, and they're playing some lovely stuff. I still think that was one of the best Whitecaps teams in the whole 11 years, and we won't go over old wounds again, but that was an MLS Cup winning team if they had been managed a little bit better. But it feels that this team, and I was going to talk about this at the end, but we'll talk about it now. What this does for the team mentally, and I asked a few of the players about this after the game, and obviously you know what they're going to say, but it does wonders for them mentally, but it also gets in the heads of their opponents, because you've come back away from home against a top 4 team. having come off a game where you've just beaten one of the top two teams. But this shows that even if you're 2 goals up, if you're the opposition, you're like, we're not safe because they believe that they can get back into it. And for the Whitecaps, even if they go 2 goals down now, they're like, well, look, we did this away to Portland. We can come and do this again. So mentally, at this stage of the season, Zach, it's massive.
Oh yeah, I mean the confidence that it breeds is, you almost can't weigh it, like what it's worth. And I think that, yeah, coming from behind by 2 goals away in Portland should, I think, be one of the things that propels them into the playoffs when I didn't think they actually would make it.
Totally agree with Zach. I mean, mentally, and I mean, these guys, they're definitely, the confidence level is like at the top now, that's for sure. And
I mean, you've been in locker rooms.
yeah, I mean, especially the timing right now, as you said, like towards the end of the season, this could really like push them really further, and hopefully, I mean, we'll see what happens down the road, but hopefully this really pushes them forward. That's for sure.
Because we always talk about momentum, Steve, and like that's obviously a huge part of it, the team that's in form hitting the playoffs, but confidence as well and self-belief plays a big part. And after the game, Vanni said he just feels this team needs a bit more self-belief. So if they're doing that and they're still not believing in themselves, if they do now believe in themselves, they should be unbeatable. They didn't get beat tonight, but I don't know how much gas they had left in the tank by that point. But as a fan watching it, as media covering it, what does it do for your confidence for this team?
Well, I thought they could do it. Like I kind of had them, like before this week, I had them winning 4 points, except I had them drawing in Portland and winning in San Jose.
Yeah.
So it was reverse the results. But I feel like their confidence is been building slowly over time. It's just not like, obviously this one probably puts more confidence in the people watching the games. I know Vanni's saying that they should have more confidence in themselves, but I feel like they've had a swagger for the last 2-3 months. It's just not. Yeah. It's just that not the mentality, but the performance on the pitch hasn't caught up to the confidence, and I think it's finally catching up. And I think that like people watching at home, because they dwell on the negative results or negative moments in the match, that they're not seeing the full portion of the game of the way they're playing. And I think that's probably why that game against Portland has really elevated team or into a new stratosphere for a lot of people.
I think it's made others around MLS sit up and take notice. Now, some had already, and some were saying, don't write off this Whitecaps team, they're playoff contenders. But after those 2 results, 6 points against 2 of the top 4 teams, there's no way, Naveed, that you're not looking at the Whitecaps as a threat. Yes, Seattle destroyed them a few weeks ago, but maybe aside from Seattle, there's no one they should fear.
No, and I think that shows you, I mean, it's full credit to Vanni Zartini, to be honest. I mean, as we mentioned already earlier in the show, I mean, the guys, I mean, they're running through a wall for him for sure.
I know you guys discussed this. I know you guys discussed this earlier, but how long do those things last sometimes too?
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well, because he's riding a wave just now. Can he do, if he got the job full time, do you get that for a whole season?
And the wave had already started when he got on it. Like it was like at halfway going up, right? It's like the thing is
like joining a rocket ship just after it's taken off.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he's taking it into the stratosphere.
Yeah, and I think I'm giving him full credit for what he's doing, because he's pulling the right strings and everything when he needs to. But I just want somebody who's good for a full like I don't want somebody hired just because of a short run here, and then all of a sudden it falls off the cliff next year. So that I just want to be careful about that.
I totally get it, but I mean, we have seen it in the past with, I mean, Zach obviously knows Hansi Flick. There's certain examples, a lot of these examples where like assistant coaches or like coaches from like academy come up and they're, or like even, I mean, not Schmetzer, I shouldn't say that example.
I was going to say Schmetzer, but he had a lot of experience.
Exactly. But there's a few of those examples that, I mean, these guys can pull it off probably.
Yeah, I don't think you can compare Hansi Flick. to
No,
this,
of
but
course,
I think
yeah.
an MLS example that might be more potentially accurate would be Greg Vanney in Toronto, and how that sort of played out.
I was thinking Freddie Juarez to an extent as well when he took over at RSL, because he kind of just got thrust into it.
Oh yeah, and he had an interim tag first
Yeah.
too, right? Unlike Vanney, yeah. Well, that might be better, yeah.
And took them to the playoffs.
And he's
stuff.
also probably more on the like less known level
Yeah.
than a Greg Vanney.
What
Yeah.
about for you, Zach? Obviously, there's a lot of chatter. Oh, give Vanny the job now. I still think you have to wait to the end of the season before you do that, because you don't want to lose any of the fire in him of, oh, I need to do this to maybe get the job. But there is a risk that this isn't sustainable over a whole season, as is the fact that Brian White exceeding his expected goals margin by a mile is really not something
Right.
that over a whole season is going to be sustainable either, you would feel.
Yeah, they can't. It would be really surprising to me if they did any announcement before, one, they either qualified for the playoffs, or two, the season ended. I think it would
No.
it would distract from what they're doing, like you said. And if they did make the playoffs, it would take away from the focus on that, if you will. So I don't think there's a lot in it to do that now, especially publicly, and maybe internally they
Yeah, that's true.
whatever there's people within the organization, or who know what's going on, or like know that that's what's going to be happening or whatever. But externally, I don't think it's helpful to announce that at this point. Yeah, they need to keep pushing. Obviously, they're in at the moment, but they need to keep going. And this Portland game put them in, but it's not. I mean, right now, Michael, it'd be kind of like, hey, let's announce our new coach for next year, and it'd be kind of like that, George W. Bush on the aircraft carrier with mission accomplished behind it, and it's like, yeah, things aren't quite done yet.
It's like when they announced Rennie so early, just because they had to snap him up.
Well, no, but that was different. Like that was more...
Tommy Sohn could have turned things around. He liked a hot dog.
Michael.
That's a very early callback to
I mean,
our early shows.
I think you'd actually have to talk to players to be able to turn them around. But whatever.
Oh, maybe, yeah. But I mean, there's no doubt that Vanny has instilled a feel-good factor in the locker room, amongst the fan base,
And
amongst
fan
the
base,
media.
people love him,
Oh.
right? I feel
Oh,
like-
the media call that we did on Friday was absolutely, it was a lot of fun. There was jokes, there was F-bombs dropped, there was attempts to murder languages, and yeah, lots of fun. Just to finish this section off, I want to play a little bit of audio actually from Vanni Sartini and also from Florian Ljungwirth. Two men that have seen a lot of football in the time, experienced a lot, and I asked them at that press conference on Friday just where that kind of comeback win ranks for them in terms of excitement and games that they've seen or been part of and stuff like that. Here's what they had to tell me. You've been involved in football for a long time. You've watched a lot of games. Where does that rank for you in like being proud of what you got out of your team, but just from an excitement aspect?
It's top of my list. I would say it top the excitement as a fan when Fiorentina beat Juventus 4-2, being down 2-0 at the end of the first half. So what, and even more because of course I was involved in the game. But I think what we did, I received a lot of text message the next day, even from guys and from people from Vancouver that maybe don't follow the Whitecaps too much, but they were so pumped and excited by the performance of the guys in the second half that I think that I hope that is not only for us, of course, it was beautiful, the 3 points, but also it's going to be a turning point, even for the guys. I listened, I came in when you were finishing interviewing Maxime about talking about awareness, even for the guys here to be aware that we have a good team, for the fans to be aware that we can do something special, but of course, not forgetting that, hey, we don't need to stop working. It's just, it was fantastic. We celebrated Wednesday night. Not even too much because we were so tired that we weren't able to celebrate. But now we're ready to do it again. And because the only way to give meaning on what we did Wednesday night is to make points in the next game.
Just to revisit Wednesday, just a little bit to start off with. You've obviously been involved in the game for a long time, a number of teams. Where does that second half performance and that comeback rank for you in terms of games that you've been involved with?
Oh, that's definitely, I would say, a top 3 at least. I think most impressive part was the way we did it. You know, I think you can always turn around the game, but especially when you're playing a tough place like Portland and you're down 2-0, usually it's like a death sentence, you know. But we never gave up. We talked it out in the locker room, but we have to improve. We pressed a little earlier. We forced them for errors, and then we created chances, and we scored three fantastic goals. So that was really, I think one of the best second halves we have.
Vanni Sartini, Florian Jungwirth there. In the top 3, at least, very top for Vanni of games that they've been involved in terms of excitement. I think it's going to be hard-pressed to find a game this year that might beat that for our Game of the Year and our end-of-season AFTN awards, which thankfully we are postponing until November. I thought we might have to do it in August again this year, but no, it's great. We're keeping that going. We'll see for how long, because that is it for this part. We're going to turn our attention to the game that followed the Portland game. Was it a hangover? Did they run out of gas? Were San Jose simply the better team? Yes, we'll be back talking Whitecaps Quakes after this.
Hi, I'm Vanni Sartini, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I love you more than my drugs, he'd say. That's why you are the way. 'Cause I feel good. 'Cause I feel good. 'Cause I feel good. 'Cause I feel good.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part is our Artist of the Month here at AFTN for October. One of 2 songs from them tonight. From down under Australia, it's The Chats with I Feel Good, taken from their 2016 self-titled debut EP. And I was feeling very good after that Portland win. Not feeling quite as good after the San Jose game because it feels such a wasted opportunity tonight. We spoke about going into the Portland game, going into the KC game. The other results had gone as bad as they could possibly have gone for the Whitecaps around MLS. Going into this game against San Jose, the other results had gone fantastic, and we'll come to those at the end of this. But everything that the Whitecaps wanted to happen had happened, and they just had to take advantage of it. It's tough though. 3 games in 7 days, 2 of them against the top 4 teams in the division, and the last 2 of them on the road. Had they run out of gas going into this? I don't know. I was pleased when I saw what the lineup was, because going into this week, before games left, 3 teams had been eliminated from the postseason in the West. All 3 Texan teams. Great stuff going on down in Texas football, obviously. The Quakes, with a defeat tonight, would have been eliminated by the Whitecaps as well. I was very confident heading into it, and why would you not be after the last 2 games? Vanni Sartini made another 6 changes from the starting lineup. took on Portland, and they were the right decisions. It was a back three that I think everyone would ideally have wanted to go for. We spoke about it. This should be our first choice back three. Ranko, Godoy, Jungwirth. If they can all stay healthy, that's the back three you want. Brian White leading the line up front beside Caicedo. I was excited by that with the form that Caicedo has shown off late. There wasn't really much lineup-wise I thought that you would think too much about. But again, they started off on the back foot. San Jose took it to them, and Ibo Bisi, 4 minutes in, forced the first save of the night from Max Crepeau. San Jose's on the front foot, and you're like, oh, are they really tired here? Is there something lacking? But the rest of the first half, there was hardly anything to talk about. It's like my match report when it comes out, I've basically written not much else of note. There was a couple of half chances. There was some scrambles in the Whitecaps box. I mean, how do you feel, Naveed? Do you think the games had taken a toll and they were just a little bit tired?
I think, I mean, with all the excitement and everything, I mean, coming back from Portland from that win, coming to San Jose was mentally, I don't think it, I mean, you're towards the end of the season, so I don't think it would be something mentally. It was definitely something physically, I think, running out of gas. And we shouldn't forget, I think San Jose, they won on Wednesday 4-0 against Austin.
So they were on a high as well, and fighting for the playoff lives as well.
So giving all this certain sense, I think getting out of this with a point is actually pretty satisfying.
Steve, one shot on target for that whole first half, and that was that one in the 4th minute that Max saved, but San Jose dominated possession 2-1.
And you expect them to too, because they are the more desperate team. Like we talked about it, they were at 36 points before going in, and if they had won the game, say for example, they would have been at 39. They were only like 2-3 points off the playoff. Yep. Now they're essentially 7. Now I know you're saying before you said they're not officially eliminated. They are essentially eliminated.
Yeah.
Because the other team, their max points they can get is 46, and Vancouver has 44 right now. So one more victory or loss either way is they're out.
And Vancouver's playing Minnesota on Wednesday, so teams are taking points in that no matter what.
Yeah, so essentially, like this was a desperate team they were going against, and it was probably the fact that they won on Portland against Portland probably benefited them so much that they were able to take it a little bit easy. And I know, I think it was mentioned on the broadcast too, that Sartini wants to win every single game. But if you think of it, getting a draw here basically essentially eliminates San Jose. And and I know you were saying that were they tired? Maybe they were resting a little bit. Maybe they were going half paced or something like that, where they didn't have to expend that much energy. And they were looking for that, that opening to score a goal, which happened in this second half, looking towards Minnesota. Because if you play against Minnesota, you can essentially, that's a 6-point game right
that's definitely a good old fashioned 6-pointer. I mean, it's tough, Zach, when you've had such a high like Wednesday night to follow it up, because it is going to sap you just physically, mentally, emotionally.
Yeah, and there was lots of talk in the post game that I heard of, 3 games in 7 days, tired legs, tiredness, I guess, and players who were, needing to be subbed and all that kind of stuff. You had some players who this is the first time they've done this kind of traveling, because the 2 of the games were away, right? So they've done this kind of traveling out of Vancouver as opposed to say Portland or Salt Lake in the past. And so, yeah, I mean, it was an exhausting week for them. Or it's been an exhausting week for them.
Yeah, they've put in a hell of a shift. I mean, they've been tremendous.
And it doesn't slow up. That's the other problem.
Yeah. I mean, 3 games to go. The next 2 in particular, Minnesota and LAFC, massive. What disappointed me, I guess, with coming away with a point, is you do feel a bit disappointed and deflated on the back of that Portland thing. But as Steve said earlier, if you'd offered us 4 points going into these 2 away games, you'd have bitten the hands off, because you'd be like, we've taken a draw in Portland and we've beaten San Jose. So still 4 points is 4 points. But a win tonight and a win against Minnesota on Wednesday would all but have secured a playoff place for the Whitecaps with 2 games to go. Not guaranteed it, but all bar guaranteed it. So I think that plays a little bit into it, and they will be disappointed, but makes them come out all guns blazing on Wednesday. The second half was much more entertaining, at least to start with, because both teams came out strong. San Jose had a couple of chances in the early going that they really squandered. Benjamin Kikanovic in particular did. But then 53rd minute, against the run of play, you've got to say, quick Whitecaps counter, White and Gold, 1-2 at the edge of the box. White gets a shot off. Marcinkowski parries it right to Bruno Gaspar. Cool as a cucumber, someone described it on Twitter to me, into the top corner. First goal is a Whitecap. Wednesday night and tonight, this is the Bruno Gaspar we were promised. This is the Bruno Gaspar we wanted to see. He's had injuries. It's been a hellish time for him. He's now starting to make the position his own. And like we've talked about, it's hard to see how you'd bring him back next year. If he has another run of games like this, it's hard not to bring him back next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's one of those guys. I guess he needs some time to get adapted to the whole league and MLS. I mean, hopefully for the rest of the season, we see
hopefully he
like
keeps
this.
going, and hopefully
Exactly.
he stays healthy as well.
Yeah.
It was a good finish, Steve, and it was a good overall move as well. The link-up play in the last couple of games between White and Gold, and Gold's been pretty quiet overall, to be honest. But him and White are linking up superbly. I mean, when Gold came in, you thought it's going to be like Gold and Cavallini. They're going to link up. It's going to unlock him. But what he's done with White has been tremendous. And it was a great strike by White to set it up. And good finish by Gaspar, Steve.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it was like, if I'm not mistaken, I think they said that there was like double-digit passing in the lead-up, like for the Whitecaps. So it wasn't just the link up at the end there. But they controlled the ball at that point. I guess definitely somewhat against the run of play, because again, San Jose came out hard in that second half as well. But that's where we've talked about it before. Like we've had very few Whitecaps in the past that have followed the shot. Like
yes.
they don't hit, they don't follow they watch the shot, but they don't actually run once the shot's taken, and that's something that Gaspar did do here. Now, you guys talking about bringing Gaspar back, I'm going to reiterate the whole Vanny thing again. Let's not just worry about what happens at the end of the season. I personally don't think he's worth it. I think they can get some talent there where they're not spending all that money and using an international spot on that position.
Well, I know the salaries came out. We don't know. There's his salary thing, but we also don't know if there's anything else involved in
yeah, it's going to be transfer fees and stuff, you would imagine.
like even the loan deal, right? We don't know like how that all works out. I guess, although his salary budget would presumably be what they're spending on his part of his salary, but that might not be his true salary, right? Because his parent club, you would think was paying part of it. But
and Axel had basically said to JJ and a couple of other journalists on a call that I wasn't on that, yeah, just take the salaries with a pinch of salt. They're not 100% accurate.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with Steve. Like you don't want to make a decision on that right now.
I know. Don't put the cart before the horse, and one swallow doesn't make a summer, and whatever other things I can come up with.
And it has only been a couple of good performances. It hasn't been like prolonged.
A, he's looked good. B, I love that moustache. And 3, I finally got to use rock the Gaspar, rock the Gaspar. Sartini, he like it. Rock the Gaspar, rock the Gaspar. Gutted though that Chase Gaspar is out of the game on Wednesday, so we're denied the Gaspar versus Gaspar.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to that.
Yeah, I miss standing next to you in the stand, Michael, for moments like that.
I think you're the only one.
That's not true. But no, I mean, Michael, if you wanted to go with a simple classic headline for this game, you could have just called it A Tale of Two Flanks, because really what happened here was you had Gaspar playing on the left wing back role, and you had Dahomey playing on the right wing back role. And on the goal for Vancouver, it's good build-up play, great interchange, especially at the top, nice shot. and Gaspar is coming from the left wing and does well to finish off the rebound. And then if you go down the other end of the field, Dahomey fails to cover. To cover. How do you say his name? I'm gonna mispronounce it.
Oh,
Kicinovic?
Benjamin Kicinovic.
Kicinovic. Yeah, it has to be his player. It has to be the person he's marking, and he just gives him acres and acres of space.
I have a way bigger culprit than that for this goal against the Whitecaps, and it's a fan favorite of Michael's. It's Florian Youngworth. He was way up the pitch when you're defending a lead, and there's no way he should be up that high. And when he did that, then you basically stretched out the back two. It became a back two with not proper fullbacks on either side. And I think that's the biggest mistake of the game. And he was actually, I think TSN gave him the man of the match or whatever they call it. And,
I was going to give him man of the match at one point because I thought he had played well defensively, but then I ended up giving it to Gaspar because I thought Gaspar was good both attacking and defensively.
Yeah, and there's no way he should be up that long. Like you can, if you see the replay, you have Ranko
I'm just
moving
sticking
up
it
the
on
middle.
again just now.
Yeah, you have Ranko in the having to run to cover that person crossing the ball in, and that essentially opens up the whole back post. And for me, Dahomey maybe, when you have an attacking right back like that, the guy's not going to be defensively strong. You don't push up the park. And
actually, so I've just watched it back as well too. And actually, what Youngworth is doing is Gaspar is actually the one who's actually cut out. Actually,
well, whatever the case is,
Youngworth is going to take his man, which then leaves the guy open.
There's no need to do that. Even for Youngworth, even if Gaspar is up there, Youngworth should have stayed in this back three and they should have held the line.
No, but if you watched it, then the guy would walk in.
Yeah.
No, because then you would have had at least somebody else in the midfield to cover. Like I don't feel you need to push out that far when you're a center back. And I don't know if it's his.
But he's not a normal center
back three.
He's playing in a
when
back.
When you're playing a back three, you need to be more stable because your fullbacks are not defensively oriented.
But that's the thing. For me. You have to cover for them as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They're all
I don't
all over the place.
All I'm saying is I don't blame Dahomey, and I know a lot of people are going to. I don't blame Dahomey 100% for that.
Watching again though, I'd probably blame Gaspar more than Youngworth personally.
To be fair though, I think it was a quality goal as well. I mean, the cross was pinpoint, the finish was. I mean,
but
yeah.
But Naveed, right? If I leave you alone with that much space, I can see you hitting that no problem.
Not now.
He's a good player.
Years ago, maybe, but not now.
I've seen Naveed score a lot of goals over the years.
But the thing about Dahomey though, it's not that it wasn't like he was picking someone else up.
No,
he was way behind the play.
He was very late to the party.
Yeah,
I mean, like when the team got announced, I tweeted out, I really like this. I just hope that the good defensive side of Dahomey is on display tonight, and it was for a lot of it, but it did let it down there.
Another issue is. My understanding is Dahomey does not want to be playing wingback.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right? Which you can't blame him for, but obviously he's making the sacrifice you have to within the team concept. But
I think
that's not where he wants to be.
It was disappointing that they couldn't hold on to the lead for more than 7 minutes. I mean, they nearly lost it right away because Remedi had a great chance when he picked the ball off Tybert pretty much instantly and just fired it wide. But I mean, it was disappointing. Kicinovic had missed so much, but it was a beautiful finish. I mean, he took that with a plum. It was like tremendous. After that, I was a bit nervous because I think that might give San Jose the boost. But the game kind of fizzled out after that by both teams. Dahomey had the best Whitecaps chance just past the midway point of the half. And I want to talk about this for two reasons. One, it was a good shot. It was a nice save by Marcinkowski. It was tipped away. Dahomey struck it well. The pass that set it up was from Cava, but he was looking for Brian White, and it was an absolutely horrendous pass by Cava. Yeah, it worked out fortunate for them, but as soon as he hit that and it left his foot, I was like, what are you doing? And then it ended up going to that. But I think that summed up Cava's time on the pitch. Again,
I
so
have
ineffective.
no idea what's going on with this. I shouldn't say with this guy. I mean,
We were
yeah.
talking about it on the post-game show, and they asked me
Yeah,
that.
I
I
heard you.
think he's come back too early from his knee injury. I don't think he's ready to go.
I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that the physical part plays a role, but the more and more I've observed and of him, I have real concerns over like the mental side of his game.
Does he want to be here? That's what I'm. Does he
I
want
know,
to be a Vancouver?
yeah,
That's
well-
what I'm starting.
Well, the thing is I have a conspiracy theory. If you guys want to indulge me a little
Oh,
bit,
we
of what
always
these
love
things-
your
Oh, yeah.
conspiracy theories.
and it came up because of the article that showed Canada popping up at 48th or something like that.
Oh yes, because now he
Right.
can get a move to UK
And-
or Europe.
he-
or...
And he has to play in a certain percentage of the national team, and which is maybe the reason why he came back early to
Hmm.
play on the national team games. So I'm thinking that that's just my.
That would tie in. It's not
Again-
that wild, to be honest.
No, Cav ultimately, I think, cares more about Canada than he does
Yeah.
Vancouver Whitecaps. That's
No,
clear.
but what
And
I'm
that's
saying
not
is
a big-
maybe he
that's not
cares
a
about.
diss on him. It's like he's very passionate about his country.
Yeah,
But
no, but
maybe-
it is,
but
Michael, but
let-
it isn't because, like, I mean, his country's not paying his salary.
Right.
But Zach, let's revisit this from years ago when he kind of refused some national team call-ups.
Oh,
But
Michael, I agree with you though. At this point in the game, though, I did also, yeah, you bring on the old boys of Salinas and Wondolowski, and it felt like set up for them to San Jose to go on and win it.
When you've got someone like Cavallini on the bench, though, you should be like, oh, we've got a DP striker on the bench. This is going to bring the spark that we need to maybe go on and get the 3 points. He is so out of form just now. Obviously, the only way you get form is by playing, but we don't have a lot of other options. That's the thing as well. Ryan Raposo was much better in his time on the pitch than Cavallini was. And that's something that it needs to get addressed. I think it is best for both parties that he moves on at the end of the season. He was asked at training this week. Har asked him, I think, on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday. Oh, do you want to be here? And he's like, yeah, of course I do.
I was going to say, let me guess who was going to ask that question.
Yeah, that's true.
Did he talk about how long his contract was?
No, he didn't learn that from Freddie.
So we got now for Hart asking those questions. I think we got Jordan Harvey. We got Freddie Montero, Russell Tybert.
Oh yeah, Russell
Lucas
Tybert. You
Cavallini.
wanted to know if this was his last game.
And Lucas
That was
Lucas
3
Cavallini
years, 3 or
too.
4 seasons have passed since then.
Yeah.
We were joking about that earlier, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And then the last bit of action to talk about came a minute into stoppage time. Hearts in mouth time as the ball comes in and it's just past the goal line. Florian blocks it, but just can't get his feet out of the ground to clear it. Wando's there. It's a gaping goal, and you're like, oh, that's going to get tucked away by the all-time leading scorer in MLS. And then, as if by magic, Max Crepeau appears. Smothers it. What a man. My player of the season. Oh,
Yeah, mine
Oh.
too. Like people are always like talking about Brian White being potentially the player of the year or whatever for the Whitecaps. There's no question it's Max Crepeau. He's been
Yeah.
here all year, and without him, there have been so many points that would have been lost during the year. Especially playing against this back line for not the recent one, but the one at the beginning of the year. He saved him so many points.
See that's the thing. Like we always have our save of the year thing as well, and so he had that. It was a double or triple save again. He had earlier in the season. That was fantastic. He had that penalty stop. That was fantastic. They got the win. But this is right up there as well. Just I was going to say simple, but just like
I'm not even
pouncing.
sure if it's. I'm not even sure if it's considered a save.
It probably isn't, to be honest.
I don't know if it was considered a shot because he just bounced on the ball.
Yeah.
Wando really thought he had his 15th goal versus Vancouver, and you could just see it in his face as he was laying on the pitch after, like, I can't believe
Yeah,
I didn't
it's like,
bundle
oh,
that across the line.
Wando,
He's the-
you've just cost your team a playoff spot.
Max Crepeau is the reason that we have an ultra clean sheet term.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that saved his ultra clean sheet right there.
And to be fair, Michael, I think Wando has had enough misses this year to cost them the playoffs.
Oh yeah, that's true. I just remembered that
Which-
horrendous one
Yeah,
that
at the
just-
beginning of the year, yeah.
rolled over
Beginning.
his foot.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful of the all-time leading scorer in MLS, but
No, because he's also in my team from our cards earlier as well.
yeah, but that doesn't outdo Landy Cakes and
Ah.
whoever else you have there.
But yeah, I mean, 1-1 in the end, and you can't begrudge San Jose getting a point from that. For me, they were the better team. They did deserve it. They possibly deserved all 3 points. So you take the point, you get back to Vancouver, you have a 4-point road trip, you have a 7-day haul that's given you 7 points. You can't argue too much with that at this stage of the season. Any players that really stood out for you? I mentioned for me, Gaspar was my man of the match. I thought Flo had a good game despite Steve shitting all over him there. But
other than that play, he had a fantastic game because he was almost like the catalyst, the emotional catalyst.
Oh yeah.
The way he would like bounce off his teammates or former teammates and bounce them to the ground. So yeah, I other than that play, I enjoyed his play. There's no issue there.
The whole back three I thought were good, but
Yeah. Godoy was in on some good stuff earlier too.
yeah, when you don't notice Ranko too much, he's had a good game.
Yeah. Max,
No, but I thought Veselinic actually had some good moments. He actually blocked it quite a
Oh
few
no,
shots.
yeah, no, I was
Yeah,
just being facetious.
Max had a good game, or made a good play on that to save things at the end there. But he had a few other moments in the game where he looked a little bit not like on his, I don't know, top form. But
The midfield struggled.
yeah,
I don't think we've found this best midfield combination yet.
Well, the thing is, Tybert wasn't even supposed to start. Apparently,
Yeah.
Mikel picked up an injury in warm up, so
Yeah,
it wasn't
which
even
is like,
Tybert's. It wasn't. Yeah,
I don't know that.
and Owusu, Owusu had a difficult game too. He wasn't up to snuff where he was.
He
normally.
gets into so many hard challenges over the course of the season. He's been flattened, he's had balls kicked at his face. He's like,
Yeah,
man.
so who took knocks again? Owosu, Gold, and who else took a knock? There was one other player.
Owusu had he kicked the ball into his own face at one point, or something. The ball hit his face, and so
Yeah.
I think that might have something to do with. Maybe he was a bit woozy from that.
We don't have to be worried about Gold though, huh? For the last couple of days,
I-
he's been quiet.
Yeah,
Let's
I've got my
just-
fingers crossed. Let's hope not.
I-
Let's hope that
I
was
think-
just precautionary.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's been playing so many minutes still,
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of reason why he's not up to where. I think once they get past this Minnesota game, and then he's able to get some rest, I think he'll be up and running. For the last
You've also
two
got to
games.
remember that when he came here, Mark talked about, he needs to get up to game fitness and get up to the
Yeah.
level, and he's thrown in pretty much right away because they
Yeah.
needed him,
Exactly.
and he's pretty much played every game since.
Right.
Well, he has played every game since, but he's not started them all. But yeah, a precaution, hopefully, for Wednesday. But the win would have been fantastic, and as I said, it would have probably gone a long way to securing a playoff spot. As it stands, still in the playoff line, above the playoff line, in 7th place, 44 points from their 31 games. Let's have a look at the rest of the results in the MLS West quickly. I'll kind of rattle through these. So the afternoon game, which I always find it weird when a game kicks off so early, really, in the West Coast, but it was Seattle 1, Kansas City 2, big implications at the top of the table, the top two battling it out. KC took the lead, Seattle tied it up, then Johnny Russell scored the winner against the run of play, it's got to be said, to move KC to within 3 points of first, and
this
they've got
is
a game in hand, and they clinched their postseason berth.
And this is probably the worst result for the Whitecaps because if Seattle had won, they would have basically clinched the top spot, and they might not have been motivated against the game against Whitecaps down the road.
Yeah.
So probably the worst result of the night, even though it made you happy for some reason. Oh, obvious reason.
Well, yeah. Also, if the Whitecaps end up finishing 7th, they're going to play whoever finishes 2nd, and then they're going to end up playing whoever finishes 1st. So, yeah, no easy games in the West. But we don't care about the top of the table, at least not right now. We want to get into the meat and potatoes of it, which is the playoff battle. So, from the playoff teams, RSL didn't play midweek, and it's so tight that saw them drop out of the playoff spots altogether. But they've now got a game in hand over the rest. And despite the travel involved, they probably went to Chicago thinking, we're playing a team in the East, they're not that good, they're out of the playoff picture, It's a fairly poor side, if we're being honest. They've got rid of their head coach. This should be 3 points at best, 1 point worst case scenario. And they've come away with no points on the end of a 1-0 defeat. They had the better of the early going. I watched this game, and they were the better team. But then Chicago found their feet. Berich fired them ahead just on the stroke of half-time, got the ball with his back to goal, turned, lovely finish, and then pretty comfortably saw out the second half. RSL, they upped the tempo, they had their chances. Chang had a header that was scooped off the goal line by the keeper, but they couldn't find a way past the Fire defence. Massive 3 points lost. And I've also got to say it was a shocking pitch because it had all the Chicago Bear lines on it, which in this day and age for MLS is quite embarrassing, really. I know they've moved to Soldier Field as a temporary move, all the sort of stuff out and whatever, but from an RSL point of view, this is huge. This is so costly for them.
Well, I guess Pablo Mastroeni is not gonna get that shot next year.
Yeah, if they don't make the playoffs, he's
Yeah.
definitely not. But I don't think he's got them motivated enough to get them. But
I know it was a road match, but it's still a shocking,
Yeah.
shocking to lose to Chicago.
especially because, like, reading the quotes and stuff that had come out during the week, it's like, "Oh, this is in our own hands. Yeah, we didn't play. That's why we're out the playoffs. We can do this." First chance to make amends, they didn't do it. The next game, if you can see the highlights on YouTube, check this out. This was a hugely entertaining match. Minnesota won, LAFC won. And Minnesota dominated the early going in this. I had this game and the RSL game on one on the telly, one on the laptop. And Boxhall missed a great header just a couple of minutes in. Oh boy. Obviously wanting to do the Whitecaps a favour. He really should have buried that. The LA defence looked all at sea. Minnesota looked so sharp, so quick. Their movement and everything about them was great. Then from nowhere, LAFC take the lead. Free kick. Arango didn't have a lot of power in it, I didn't think. Tyler Miller goes to collect it, goes through his hands, goes through his legs. 1-0 LAFC.
Yeah, a Canadian keeper wouldn't have done that.
No. And it cut to Heath on the sideline. He was losing his shit. He was just yelling at clouds, basically, at that point. But it wasn't the last talking point of the first half. There was a horrendous collision between Ozzy Alonso, Kim, and the referee, Sagiba. I'm not sure that's how you pronounce the name. I probably worded that. They collided just inside one of the halves, and the ref had to get stitches at halftime because Kim basically headbutted him, and it looked like he was concussed at one point as well, but he was good to go. Second half, LAFC tried to shut up shop because they needed this win. They defended in numbers, but Alonso, who was outstanding in this game, and we'll talk about Minnesota in the next part as we look ahead to Wednesday's game. It was a free kick. Reynoso took the free kick after a shocking challenge on him to set up the free kick. It was parried away into the path of Alonso. Beautiful finish from him to make it 1-1. And then Minnesota, the crowd were so into it by that point. They were just roaring them on. Fragapane had a shot that was tipped away. The LA defence was under the cosh. But Minnesota, they come back against Philly during the week. Couldn't do it in this one. They outshot LAFC 18-5. And from a Minnesota point of view, dropping 2 points at home is big. From an LAFC point of view, it's left them 3 points behind Vancouver below the playoff line. Those two teams obviously meeting in the penultimate game of the season.
Yeah.
It was one of those games you want Minnesota to lose from that perspective, but then you didn't want to give LAFC the points either.
I think it's a huge loss for both teams because if you look at their the LAFC, their last two of their last remaining games, obviously one's against Vancouver, but the other two games are against Seattle and on the road against Colorado.
Yeah.
Those are going to be difficult. They're already 3 points off the playoff. So that's going to be rough for them. So this was essentially a must win, even though they still have, and it was on the road too. So I think it's a bigger loss for LAFC because Minnesota still has a chance with the games they have.
A draw suited neither team here. And from a Whitecaps point of view, that was 2 great results on the night. Then it was followed up. Colorado beat Portland 2-0. Colorado needed the win to keep in touch with the top 2 after the earlier result, because playoff positioning, home field advantage, it's all massive just now. But the win secured the Rapids playoff berth, so that's 3 of the 7 all tied up now. Pretty even first half in this. Dominic Badji headed the Rapids ahead 2 minutes into stoppage time. Diego Rubio headed home a second just past the hour mark. Then he hit the post shortly after that. But it was a well-deserved win for the Rapids in the end. The Timbers now, 3 straight losses. I said in last week's show, if the Whitecaps could beat them, they'd be dragged right back into the dogfight, and they are now. It's crazy how string 3 wins together, string 3 losses together, the impact that has. Then the last game of the evening, played at the same time as the Whitecaps won. Galaxy 2, Dallas 2. This could have been so different. The Texans shocked the Galaxy to lead by 2 at half-time. Zach's boy Jesus fired a long ranger in to make it 1-0 in the half-hour mark. Franco Yara made it 2 4 minutes before half-time. Then, storming second half from the Galaxy, Chicharito pulled one back from the spot in the 65th minute, but it looked like Dallas were going to hold on. But then Leggett stuck his leg out, poked it home, 83rd minute, 2-2. Then the Galaxy went for it. 10 minutes of stoppage time in this one. Obviously, the league would love the Galaxy to be in the playoffs, but 2 big points dropped by the Galaxy there. So, fantastic weekend results from a Whitecaps perspective. They couldn't quite make it a 100% successful weekend by getting the win themselves. But where this leaves the playoff battle in the West just now, Seattle, 31 games, 58 points, they're first. Kansas City, 55 points from 30 games. Colorado, 55 points from 31 games. Portland, 46 points now in 4th. LA Galaxy, 46 points in 5th. Minnesota, 45 points in 6th. Vancouver, 44 points in 7th. Salt Lake, 42 points in 8th. LAFC, 41 points in 9th. So you've got 5 points separating the teams from 4th to 9th. This is going to be an absolutely crazy 3 weeks to end the season.
Yeah, you can't underestimate the what Johnny Russell did today with that goal. Like I think the fact that those games to end the season are going to be so big for those top 3 teams is going to play, like you said, with LA, who got changes things a little bit. I would have given them quite a bit of breathing room. Obviously not quite clinched it, but the fact that they're playing these games against teams that are still have everything to play for, and they're still fighting for that top spot, which they covet, is just it was when you text about the message about that goal, I was just like, oh yeah, I wasn't actually watching that at the time, but I turned it on so I could see it. But yeah, that was a massive goal, and how everything's going to play out at the top and at the bottom of the playoff race.
It's a division in 3 bits just now, because you've got the eliminated teams that are just fighting to make it difficult, and players are fighting for contracts. You've got the top 3 that's battling for what could be a massive home field advantage, and you never know, could be hosting an MLS Cup depending what happens in the East. And then you've got these teams, 6 teams battling it out for 4 playoff spots, and one of them is going to get home field advantage in the first round as well. It's so exciting. The other disappointing thing about tonight's result from a Whitecaps perspective was a win would have moved them to 12 wins, which would have been equal with Minnesota. So then a win against Minnesota would have given them that tiebreaker against Minnesota and put them level on wins with the Galaxy. That win record of 11 that the Whitecaps have could still prove very costly in the grand scheme of things. Of course, if they win out, it doesn't matter too much. And I think if they win 2 of their last 3 games, I think they're in.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of teams have a lot of different schedules ahead. For me, we were talking about the Galaxy dropping 2 points, and like similar to LAFC, their next two games are in Kansas City and in Seattle. So how many points do you expect them to have? And then they finish up with Minnesota. That's why this game against Minnesota is huge, because if they can win that one, Minnesota's remaining games are at home against Kansas City and in Galaxy. So if you look at that on paper, a win for Vancouver against Minnesota, basically they could top both of those teams in the standings. That puts them. LAFC, I'm not sure. I don't think they make the playoffs at this point.
No, I don't. I think they're not obviously close to being officially eliminated yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very tall order for them when you look at their schedule, when you look at the amount of teams above them. The other crazy thing is, 4th place and a home playoff game. I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but it is within reach. And if you'd said that 4 or 5 weeks ago, I'd be like,
yeah,
what?
Yeah,
not possible. But the thing is, Portland's got probably the easiest schedule.
Yeah,
they host Houston, Austin, and San Jose. Those should be winnable games for them.
Yeah,
so
they probably still will secure that.
Yeah.
But, hey, we've just gone down there and shown we can win. So even if we finish 5th and our first round game is against Portland,
and I think 5th is very doable at this point.
And right now,
obviously,
if you look at who the first round opponent could be, and it's the same top 4, Portland's the team you want.
Yeah, and the thing is, they get the benefit of playing against Minnesota on Wednesday and then almost having a full week off, whereas other teams are going to be playing the weekend and then the weekend a week after that. So the other teams are going to be worn out while Vancouver has that 1 week break in between.
I mean, it's just so exciting in the West just now, which makes it a little bit weird that the big national TV game tomorrow is Houston at Austin.
Yeah.
I think since
Texas Derby.
Yeah, Texas. I think since we're also talking about the standings, we should probably take the time to congratulate Bruce Arena and the New Englands for winning the Supporter Shield.
Yeah.
What a season. What a season. 69 points.
That's nice. That's nice.
21 wins.
20 points ahead of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He can take it easy, but at the same time, you don't want to take it easy because you don't want to lose any momentum, and they're already going to lose a little bit from having the bye week. But
we've been talking about it since last year. Like you cannot. I know he had the debacle with the men's going back to the men's national team, but you cannot doubt his ability to get things done in this league, to evaluate talent and to use talent in the right ways. Like, I'm not his biggest fan. Like I mean, I haven't had the encounters that Steve has had to have with him, but
and the thing is, looking at his face, you don't expect the team to be very exciting, but it is.
I always liked the droopy cartoons. Hello, my name's Bruce Arena. Anyway, congratulations, Tim. Next Whitecaps manager. In which case, I'll cut this bit out of podcast so that no one.
I don't see him ever coming here. That's
yeah,
not gonna happen.
if Bob Bradley ever came here as well, I'll have to do some editing of our older shows as well. But anyway.
Although he plays on turf. Oh yeah, he plays on turf, so he's maybe not opposed to that.
Oh yeah, maybe. Anyway, we talked about the big game that's coming up on Wednesday. We're going to get to that next, after this.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Davies, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Last week, pulled a root in the back of my ute. I was cautious, double wrap, but I still got the clap. I've got the clap, it's got the clap. I've got the clap, it's got the clap. So I went to the clinic. Doctor said, mate, you fucked. Then he told me what I had. Turns out I've got the clap. I've got the clap. It's got the clap. I've got the clap. It's got the clap.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's another song from our Artist of the Month for October here at AFTN from Australia, The Chats, with a song from their 2020 album High Risk Behaviour. It's a song, I'm sure, Zach, you can relate to this. You meet a Queensland girl, you pick her up, things get a little bit frisky. Then before you know it, you're double wrapped, but you still got the clap. Ah, terrible. Yeah, John Herdman was saying how much he was looking forward to having the clap in Edmonton. So be careful out there, Zach. I think he was meaning the Viking clap because, yes, that maybe doesn't translate very well on a podcast. But I was doing the Viking clap there. I wasn't just having a seizure.
I just find it funny that the clap is done in the V section.
Oh, yes. Oh, someone sent me a message this morning that I might have a new favourite player. She plays for Hungary. She scored against Scotland, and her name is Fanny Vaggio. Ties in with the song there. Anyway, Canada are playing in Edmonton very shortly. Zach will be going through to that one. We'll obviously have him quarantining for 14 days when he comes back.
Got my tickets. Got my tickets. Hanging out with the Slamo.
Is it going to sell out? I was on a call with Herdman this week, and he was calling on all Patriots to get out to this.
Yeah, that was awkward. Yeah. Well, let's not have the conversation.
Play well in Alberta. That's what we agreed. But
I mean, the sales went really good.
Yeah, they've opened it Upper Deck.
What?
I believe they've opened it Upper Deck now in Commonwealth Stadium.
I know some people had to get Upper Deck because they couldn't order right away because they work or whatever they couldn't get on.
How many of those tickets were paid in pesos though?
Yeah. But there is a dedicated away section.
Yeah, the way it should be.
Of course, these two games getting played in Edmonton. The next one, maybe two games against the US and then Jamaica could be getting played here in BC at BC Place. The expectation is the game against the US in January will be.
Yeah.
And some exciting news that came out today. It was on Daily Hive. BC Place is getting a new turf installed after the Whitecaps and the Lions season wraps up. It will be in by the end of January 2022. It has to get all FIFA approval and everything like that. But it would mean it would be in for that game against the US at the end of January. Now, it's long overdue. It's about 6 years because it was put in for the Women's World Cup in 2015. They're meant to have a 5-year lifespan, so it should have been replaced already. So, I mean, this is good for Canada. It's good for the Whitecaps, and it's maybe good as well for Vancouver re-entering the race for World Cup host city.
Oh, that's going to be played on grass. But I was going to say
grass,
that...
Yeah.
I was
the women played the World Cup on turf.
I was gonna say that you could say 5 years almost happened because of the fact that nobody played on that turf last year anyway.
Oh, so yeah,
that's probably
did reach this.
That's literally probably what they said. Hey, no one used it for this year. Let's keep another year. Michael, I know you were joking in part there, but is there an actual possibility where Vancouver could re-enter the fray for 2026?
Yeah, Horgan has said it is still.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what Horgan says is one thing. It's what the CSA.
Oh yeah, well that's all I've based that on is.
Oh yeah.
Horgan the thing said a couple of months ago.
But we know FIFA. FIFA wants their games played in Vancouver.
Yeah.
They want it to be highlighted in big cities, easy access.
And despite
access
what
to the
some
US.
recent poll had of Commonwealth Stadium being Canada's best stadium, we know it is BC Place.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of how many it can hold and just how it looks and
and the location.
Obviously,
and
Swan Guard is the best stadium.
No.
Well, okay, I know we've sidetracked here, but what would you have then as Canada's best stadium?
Like actual stadium for football. I would probably choose Stade Saputo followed by BMO Field.
BMO impressed.
I mean, they're grass pitches, and just the stadiums themselves are. I mean, they're not like real football stadiums, if you know what I mean. They're more like lower, like, I mean, they're not like, it's not an actual stadium. It's like stands that are put up, right? But I would choose probably Stade Saputo and then BMO Field. BMO Field is awkward to me right now with what they have removable stuff in the end zone and the one side, which I guess is because of the pigskin.
Well, it's a CFL stadium.
It's the National Football Stadium, Michael.
The National CFL Stadium.
No,
Canadian football.
It's Canada's National Football Stadium.
It is not. There is no such a thing.
No, it's true. I don't like it, but that's the truth.
Really?
Yes, when they built it, that's what it like. That's why there was all these issues with.
But we have the National Development Centre here, National Training
Yeah,
Centre.
training
You
center.
can't have the training centre on one end of the country and the stadium on the other end.
Well, that's Canada, man.
That's a Whitecaps name thing. I don't know that that's.
Anyway, let's hope BC Place gets this new turf and it's exciting and bouncy. That's
Yeah.
all we want.
I've heard so January is happening. Obviously, March the March game, the things Jamaica game you just talked about. That I wouldn't bet my house yet that's going to be in Vancouver. But
I'd bet your house on it.
yeah,
I'm betting your house on it now.
the January one will be at BC Place. The other one it could be in Toronto still.
We hope the turf will not be put in until mid-December at BC Place, as somehow the Whitecaps managed to make the playoffs, win the West, and end up hosting the MLS Cup. That might be a bit problematic to get them.
I don't think the 7th seed can host.
Well, no, if they play the 7th seed in the East.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Sorry.
Anything can happen in the COVID times. That's the
Right.
way I'm looking at it. A big step to doing that, of course, would be winning against Minnesota on Wednesday night. Let's have a quick preview of that game just now. So both teams have to fly into Vancouver for this one, obviously, because many were at home to LAFC today, and the Claps, I'm obsessed with that song at the start, the Caps, it could be the new nickname for them. The Caps flew straight back after the game and got in the wee hours of Sunday morning from San Jose, so they'll have a bit more time to recover. Now, Minnesota are a different animal away from home than at home. They head into this one with an overall record, 45 points, 3 games left to play, 12 wins, 9 draws, 10 losses, 36 goals for, 38 against, so a -2 goal difference. Their away record is 3-6-6. And it's massive that this game is at BC Place because Allianz Field, it's electric for their home games. The fans just bring something special to the atmosphere. It really raises the team. It helps them go to another level. They did that against Philly midweek. They did that against LAFC today. We need BC Place on Wednesday to be the 12th man for the Whitecaps. Plain and simple.
I thought Vanny was the 12th man for the Whitecaps.
Okay, 13th man then. Unlucky for some. Hopefully unlucky for Minnesota. Looking at Mini then. Few danger men. Alonso, outstanding today against LAFC. So for me, he's a big danger man. He was good defensively and offensively against the Goats. Fragapane, Load, dangerous in attack. Reneso leads the team in 10 assists. I really like him. He's a great wee player. He's got 4 goals in the season. Lod leads the team with 8 goals. Who now has 6, and Fragapane also has 4. Fragipane's got 9 assists to be sitting in the team as that as well. So a very dangerous team in attack. What are you expecting from this one, Zach?
I think Vancouver is going to come good at home. I think they'll get like a 1-goal win, like a 1-0 or a 2-1. But I don't think you can count out Minnesota. I think that
they play when they're flowing. They play some lovely football.
Yeah, that Reynoso is a really, really quality player, and Boxall will want to make up for his miss from Saturday.
Let's hope it's the same Boxy that turns up, or the 2011 Boxy. That'd be even better.
Yeah, that person no longer exists, Michael. He's much better footballer.
He's very good. What about you, Steve? What are you expecting from this one? What are you expecting from Minnesota? They're going to be massively up for this.
No, I'm actually expecting. I expect Vancouver to rout them out. Honestly,
really.
Minnesota played
Green.
Everybody except for one player played 90 minutes plus today. And you mentioned it before. They were putting everything into the game in order to get this win, and they didn't get it. They will be disappointed. They'll be worn out. And I think, and you mentioned that Gaspar is not going to be with them. They're going to get a player, I think, suspended midweek, the back for this game. I think it's their right back or something like that. But their left back is out now. And we know Vancouver's strong points are wide, especially in attacking. So for me, this should be a rout. I don't know if it's going to be a rout, but it should be a rout.
Yeah, I have to agree with Steve there. I have a good feeling about this one too. I mean, like I said, where they're at in terms of the confidence level and just coming back out of this road trip, I really feel like this could be a big one for the Caps on Wednesday. And the question I have though, is it going to be White or is it going to be Cava starting? That's going to be interesting.
Oh, it has to be.
Has to be
Oh, it has to
White.
be. It has to be White at this point. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm confident for this one as well.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Minnesota can't afford to lose it. That's the thing. So it's going to be interesting how they play. And I haven't seen Minnesota. I've watched a few of the games this year. They were my tips to win the West. So obviously I know nothing about Western Conference. But I haven't really seen them play defensive. They like to attack. It seems to be the only way they know how to play. And if they do that and they're not firing on all cylinders and they're tired, we definitely have players that can take advantage of that. It's just how tired we are at the same time.
But the thing is, we rotated players out today, so
Yes.
there are players that were able to get some rest that they didn't play the full 90. And from what I saw a little bit of the Minnesota LFC game, that their 90 minutes were much more physical or
very
demanding than what Vancouver's 90 minutes were.
It certainly was. But before we turn to the Whitecaps lineup, let me just play a little bit of audio from after the San Jose game. I asked Vanny just what he's expecting from Minnesota and what's he's expecting from the fans as well. Here's what he had to tell me. I just want to ask you a little bit about the Minnesota game that's coming up midweek. I watched their game earlier today as well and dropped 2 points at home, but they're a very dangerous side. What are you expecting from them when they come to BC Place? Because they're a much different side away from home than they are at home.
Yeah, they're a good team, and what I expect to them is they're playing a very, even pleasant offensive football. They attack with kind of a even traditional way with wingers, with fullbacks that overlap. So they attack with a lot of players. They have Reynoso that playing between the line. So we'll need to do the thing that we have done so far at BC Place in the last few games. Be very aggressive and organized with our pressure and try to exploit the space that a team like Minnesota that kind of like to attack with the wide players a lot. It's gonna leave on the side of the two center backs.
One of the big advantages that Minnesota have when they're at home is the crowd that they've got at Alliance Field. And like tonight, they roared them back into the game, and I've seen that in previous games. What would be your message to the fans for Wednesday? Midweek games tend not always to get the numbers in. What would be your message to rally the fans in?
That we need them. That again, it's a team effort, and the team effort includes the fans. So they're a huge part of the fact that BC Place became a fortress. So I know it's going to be a Wednesday night, whatever, but they've been fantastic so far, and I know they will be fantastic. And if they can come even with a higher number, they're gonna. Again, I say every time, it's called the playoff push. So we need someone that help us push too. So the fans that should, they will actually, not they should, they will help us for sure.
He's the gaffer. You can't try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall. Has the answer to it all. He's the gaffer.
The gaffer, Vanni Sartini there with his thoughts on Minnesota. Massive game coming up. What will he do? Lineup-wise, today I thought was the strongest defence that they go out. I think we know we're going for a 3-4-1-2 or a 3-4-2-1. It's going to line up that way. And if Ranko, Godoy and Ljungwirth can go again, surely you have to go with that. Or are you worried that there might be tiredness there and you maybe put Jake back in at the back?
No.
So up front, because the midfield's the interesting one here. Up front, I think it has to be White. Do you put in Cava or do you keep with Caicedo?
Is Cava fully like? Is he at 100%? Like I don't.
He says he is.
Like how long is? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what kind of character he is, personality wise. Like him on the bench. Oh, okay.
I would say put Cava in there to start if they feel like he's 100%, and because Casado off the bench could be very dangerous, especially against a team that's very tired against Minnesota. Maybe Cava and White can wear him down, and then Caicedo's speed off the bench can really attack him because you got Boxall and Debesi at on the center back. I don't think they're that fleet of foot, and Alonso especially.
Yeah, I was thinking, Steve, something similar in terms of keeping Caicedo as a powerful impact, speed player off the bench. Would be put Dahome up top with White.
Dahome would be a good option too, yeah.
And then you go Gaspar on one side and maybe Brown on the other side.
I think Brown will feature. Maybe Gutierrez as well.
Oh, Gutierrez, yeah, sorry. If Guti's good, I'd go Gutierrez and I'd probably go Gutierrez and Gaspar.
Yeah.
Being at home and
I think
I don't mind Gaspar off the bench too, because he came off the bench against Portland, and look how much effort he put in there. So him being off the bench, it would be ideal. But I'd like to hold some defensive ability as well on the bench, so I don't want to put too much defense.
Well, in that one, you'd have Caicedo and Cava.
Yeah.
On the bench.
Yeah. Dahome up front might be an interesting one because I don't like him playing in midfield where he's so much is asked of him defensively.
Not that part of midfield. If he was a little further up, then that's fine. Where, like you said, he doesn't have defensive responsibility.
I'd like to see Gaspar and Gutierrez on the flanks.
Yeah.
I just hope Cava won't be problematic beyond the bench for the locker room.
No, he won't.
I don't think so.
It's in his interests to do well if he is wanting to move as well. The middle of the park is the big question, because you're going to be going up in a battle at some point probably against Alonso, so you need a little bit of bite in there. If Owusu can go, I guess it would be him. If Bikel can go, Bikel and Owusu, or do you put Baldy in there as a guy that isn't afraid to shirk tackles and just goes for it?
No, I think Bickle and Owusu would be the best bet if they're good to go. The bigger question is, and maybe you were saving this for the last, Michael, is what the heck do you do if somehow Gold's not good to go behind the two strikers?
If he isn't, I don't know.
If he isn't, you put Dahome there and keep Caicedo up top.
Yeah, that would work.
No, I think Gold will be ready to go.
Yeah, I think
it didn't seem to be that concerning on the.
Initially, I was. Just because anytime anyone's holding like anything around about the knee, you're like, oh.
Do you think Russell won't start?
I don't think he will. No.
I think he wasn't supposed to start today, so I think maybe if Bikel's okay to go on Wednesday, I think they'll rest Russell and have him coming off the bench. But Russell would be an ideal person to go up against Alonso, just because he gets under people's skin and stuff like that too.
Remind me, was Bikel supposed to start today?
Yes, he was.
So, I mean, we know that Vanny likes to change his team up a little bit, and in many ways, like we kind of half joked about this, but half meant it as well. It's great because it confuses us, so it's going to confuse the opposition because they have no idea who they're going up against a lot of the time. And it's so different to what MDS wanted, because he wanted a stable lineup. He wanted to try and run that lineup into the ground. He spoke to me before about that's how he did with San Francisco and they won a championship. He knew who he could rely on. So it's been very different under Vanny. I asked him a little bit about that on Friday just to get his thoughts on squad rotation now that we are at the business end of the season. Here's what he had to tell me. A lot of coaches at this time of the season, they want to keep a regular starting lineup. But obviously with the amount of games that you've got coming thick and fast, that makes it very difficult, and with the injuries as well. But are you the kind of coach that when it gets down to the last couple of games, if you've got a healthy team, you want to go with a core starting 11? Or do you feel like mixing it up, the freshness, keeps the opposition on the toes as well?
I think I have 25 players, and it's would be narrow side is a word.
Narrow-minded.
To narrow-minded, to just focus on 11, 12, 13 players. I as we say every time, we are a team. A team, it means that the team is more important than everything. Our leader is our way of playing. Our leader is our work ethic. Our leader is the collective. And that situation, I think I'm very lucky because I have a lot of players, to be honest, that could be the starters at the moment. Literally, I would maybe 20 players that can be starters at the moment. And so my responsibility is to put who's the readiest. I think that in modern football, if you're not 100% or at least the best in your position in terms of physical condition, you can't play, and in mental condition. And that's the reason why I think that turnover and changing lineup, you can say is my style, but for me is the way that football is going, and is the way that football needs to be go.
So Vanni Sartini there just talking about lineups, and Vanni says it's modern football. You need to have squads, you need to utilise squads. It's very different. You can't just rely on that. And he feels he's got 20 plus guys that could be starters just now. Fair, I think. Some of them you might not be your first choice starters, but it does feel that the squad depth is good, and whoever we bring in, I think we can rely on them pretty much. There's no one that if I see on the team sheet, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, because at this point, they're all very similar level. They're not the greatest players, but they're very similar. They put a good effort. And that's ideal. Like if you're 3 DPs, obviously, one of them is not doing that much. But if your designated players or your top players are playing every game, you can rotate people in and out. And that's where it's beneficial to a team like
this.
We
only have 2 DPs.
Yeah, exactly. And one's not doing that well right now. So, but if you're getting performances out of players that you're not expecting, like we talked about White, like we don't expect this to happen all the time, but he is kind of getting into games and everything like that. So it's interesting to see who's available, and if he can pick, Vanni can pick up on who's doing well in training and pick those players, and hopefully they do well. Then that'll be beneficial for them. It'd be interesting to see once they get in the playoffs who's their starting 11.
Yeah, that's when you're going to have to be a little bit more settled, I would think. 'Cause it's straight knockout games as well, so you have to get your best team out there. As I said before about White, you just like right now you ride him like a Blackpool donkey and just get the best out of him. Let's get our predictions for this one. I'll kick things off. I'm going to say 3-1 Whitecaps. Zach.
Ooh. Yeah, I already said. I'll say let's go 2-1 Vancouver.
Steve.
3-0.
Naveed.
2-0 Vancouver.
Oh, full house. We're so confident. What could go wrong?
Should I
Wednesday, 7 o'clock.
So those of you who are into betting, you heard it here.
Yes.
I could change your prediction. I'm willing.
Go against the
flow.
Never
not our flow.
The flow.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, just talking about flow. Tonight against San Jose, he was very keen to make sure that he was no longer a San Jose player. I loved tackle on Espinoza 3 minutes in, little shoulder into him. It's like, hey, not an earthquake anymore. Anyway.
And he had that shouting thing with Cowell near the end.
Yeah. The previous game up here as well, he's putting himself about and getting in the middle of it. Love the guy. Last little bit of Whitecaps news. It was officially confirmed after us talking on the show for a while and Axel talking to us about it. Whitecaps under-19s, the very first team announced for BC League One. I'm hoping that there's going to be a team announcement every Friday. That would be excellent if they can get the 7 teams announced over the next 7 weeks. But the Whitecaps are in. Very exciting times for development and on the women's side as well.
Did they announce the Whitecaps team first because they knew Axel couldn't keep his mouth shut, and so they decided to just put it out there right away?
Maybe.
Do we know who's coaching the Whitecaps women's team?
It'll be Emma Humphreys, I believe.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay, you talk about that.
Yeah, she's the overall in charge of it. I'm assuming she's going to be the coach as well. Maybe not, of course, but she's overseeing it all for sure just now. So we are going to speak to Emma later on this year.
I think initially she'll definitely be the coach.
So is that
over the years?
Is that the professional? Is that a
It's
semi-professional team?
semi-pro, so players can
this
get
team-
paid.
They can get
Yeah.
paid.
But the
Okay.
Whitecaps are doing their under-19s team in it.
Okay.
They're going to be playing, it said in the announcement, they're going to be playing out of the development centre, which right away goes against the minimum stadium standards for the league. So I guess we'll see how
There might be-
that one plays out.
There might be an exception for them.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that they are
They're a
professional
name.
team. And
They could
yeah.
always play out at Thunderbird Stadium as well, but they might have a little bit of competition over the summer to play out there because it's obviously
There's
used
just-
a lot. But
There's a stadium in New West might be available. No, maybe not.
if you build it, they will come.
Oh,
If you don't build it, then the team will fold a couple of years later. I think that was the story.
that's such a
Field
tragic.
of bad dreams.
That was. I mean, you talked about the Vancouver and the World Cup earlier. That was the whole New West thing was such a sad political thing. That was just
Yeah.
It was
by a
really sad.
politician to get elected. Like,
Yeah.
It was really sad for New West because they could have really like
Oh.
how's that softball going right now? Is that bringing in a lot of people and stuff like that? Like
that it could have been something special. Instead, hopefully one day on that side of the river, there's CPL that will be special.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Could have been something special. Title of my sex tape. Anyway, moving on to this week's wavelength, and I've wanted songs this month that's all about fans taking the power back and against modern football. So, what is the one thing just now that fans are really hating, apart from maybe big money taking over teams? It's the World Cup getting played in Qatar. Now,
Oh, okay.
got an interesting song about that for this week's wavelength. It's from a Norwegian comedian, but there's nothing funny about the topic of this song. His name is Rasmus Wold, and this is his song protesting about FIFA corruption and the World Cup going to Qatar. This is called Never Mind the Slavery.
Qatar 2022, human rights. Fuck you. Ole, ole, ole. It feels quite bizarre, but the World Cup is here. Arranged in Qatar, where it's illegal to drink beer. They ain't got no stadiums, but in the lack of places to play, they hired foreign workers, but the workers get no pay. They work 15 hours a day, and they got no place to run. We close their eyes when they collapse under the Arabic sun. But there are more important things than a random skinny slave, like a bicycle goal or a match-winning penalty. Say, never mind the slavery. We'll watch football anyway. Everyone is welcome in Qatar, except if you're gay. Never mind the slavery. We'll watch football anyway. Everyone is welcome in Qatar, except if you're gay. If a foreign worker tries to run, he'll be stopped at Doha Airport. Cause when he signed his contract, they took his phone and passport. When the thermostat shows 40, it's important to remember that FIFA has a plan. They move the World Cup to December. They work 15 hours a day, and they got no place to run. We close their eyes when they collapse under the Arabic sun. But there are more important things than a random skinny slave, like a bicycle goal or a match-winning penalty. Say, never mind the slavery. We'll watch football anyway. Everyone is welcome in Qatar, except if you're gay. We are the bosses of the football world. FIFA does what FIFA likes. We gave the cup to a nasty place, cause we got paid by Qatari sheikhs. Friends with sheikhs and oligarchs, Infantino saves the day. I got no time for human rights, wanna watch my country play. Wanna watch my country play. Wanna watch my country play. Never mind the slavery. We'll watch football anyway. Everyone is welcome in Qatar, except if you're gay.
Rasmus Wald, never mind the slavery. Keeping it light here on AFTN to round off the show this week. But it is actually, it's something that I feel it's not getting talked about anymore. It was for a while. For anyone that's been living under a rock, there's been lots of worker deaths in building these stadiums in Qatar. And obviously, people were questioning, how did Qatar get it in the first place? And at first, there was lots of outrage. People were talking about it all the time. But it feels it's all gone so quiet recently, and no one's really talking about it. Once the World Cup gets there, folk will just enjoy the spectacle of it, and it will all be forgotten about. It's like there was lots of protests about when Russia was hosting 2018, then it took place, and no one cared about it anymore. And I do think it's going to be the same about Qatar. And people are wanting this song to get out there and to go viral and to raise the message again and to put this in the spotlight. And I really hope it does, because I feel it is something that still needs to be talked about.
It's a tough situation because it's something that constantly gets swept under the rug. Like we saw in Brazil too, the people protesting that kind of stuff. Like every time there's an Olympics or FIFA tournament, there's always going to be wrongdoings and stuff like that and things that don't look good. But in this case, this is probably the worst, I think, at this point, because of the fact of where they do it. And like you were talking about that song, you can probably check out their video on YouTube.
Yeah,
and everything like
it's
that.
got all
They
the
actually
lyrics
have
on it as well. It's very good.
yeah, and it's a subtitle official music video unofficial FIFA World Cup 2022 song.
Yeah,
So it's
definitely
listed on
check it
there like
out. And if you believe in the message, and why would you not, then share it, help it go viral. That's what we're here to help.
He's already got 335,000 views on YouTube.
Yeah, it's actually the last couple of days, and I discovered it just by accident this week. It came up in as a recommended video, and it's really shot up in the last few days.
See, I don't think you can compare this to the Brazil, because Brazil was putting stadiums in places where they wouldn't be used again, and so it was a misuse or misallocation of funds. Some argued when there was obviously major other political, economic, social issues going on in Brazil. This is like I forget the number. It's over thousands right now. It's like several thousand people.
But that's what I was saying. I was saying it's
over 1,000 people have lost their lives building these stadiums in conditions that are less than ideal.
And no, that's why I was saying that there's always been issues in all these things, but this is way worse than anything that's ever happened before. I wasn't comparing it, but I was just saying there's been issues in the past in these type of countries.
It's hard. Yeah, I mean, it's I've connecting with supporters from around the country. I've heard people say, I'm going no matter what, even if Canada doesn't make it. I've heard people say, I'm going if Canada's there. I've heard people saying, I won't even watch it on TV because I don't want to support the World Cup being in Qatar. So I think in Canada, there's quite a widespread view on things. My take with all World Cups has been, if Canada's there, I want to be there.
I've said that about Scotland and Canada, and there's a good chance they could both be there. I genuinely don't know that I can stand that heat, though. I
don't know if I'll actually be able to afford to go to.
Well, yeah, there's that as well. Plus, there's also COVID just now, because the world's going to have to be a very different place when we want to jump on an aeroplane to go to Qatar and be amongst people from all over the world. But yeah, we'll see.
This probably would have been the safest place for me to go, considering the color of my skin and everything.
Yeah. Well, we'll send you as our correspondent, Steve. We don't mind doing that.
But no, I plan on not going. Like I've talked about it before, that WWE, as an example, I do not watch their programming anymore because of the Saudi Arabia stuff, which they just had another thing in there. They go to Saudi Arabia to put on shows there, Zach. Big shows.
It's sports washing. That's what they're trying to do in all these countries, and it's proven very successful.
It's propaganda.
Because ultimately, the event starts, and the majority of the people watch it and forget about every other aspect of it, and that will happen with the 2022 World Cup.
And I basically stopped watching it since they put on that show after the journalist was murdered. By the government.
Yeah, and you're right. This is done actually. Not even in places like this. It's done in places. There's all kinds of things that happens in places that host these major events. Didn't like Vancouver when they hosted the Olympics? Didn't they bus out a lot of people in the downtown east side to have them not kind of around during the Olympics?
But they relocated them probably to better. They didn't like beat them over and then put them in wagons and
No,
drive them
no,
off.
yeah, okay.
You're not going to get away with that stuff. But yeah, if you relocate them into better facilities, maybe it was voluntary. Maybe that's a fine thing to do. But in these kind of situations, you're right. It's just not right. Like what they've done there in Qatar is not good. Obviously, we'll hear from Simon Fudge very soon. But that's beside the point.
Let's just finish the show with some good news, some feel-good news. First of all, well done to UBC's men and women qualifying for the playoffs in Canada West. It was touch and go for the men. They had to beat UVic tonight, and they scored 3 goals in the first 9 minutes to come away with a 3-0 victory. Can't knock that. The women looking outstanding as well. They're going to have a home playoff game next weekend. If you can, get out to Thunderbird Stadium and cheer them on. And talking of women's football, what time was it today, Zach?
It was 5 past the Kiwis.
It certainly was. And it was
an arch rival Kiwis.
Oh, yes. Oh, the John Herdman derby.
Yeah, we took Herdman from them.
Yeah. It was a very comfortable and comprehensive 5-1 win for Canada in a friendly over New Zealand in their celebration tour to celebrate the gold medal. Jessie Fleming with a 12th minute penalty. Christine Sinclair 4 minutes before half time. Nichelle Prince, double from Adriana Leon, and New Zealand got on the score sheet with a penalty off their own. But great win, great atmosphere.
Wasn't it ironic? Wasn't it ironic that this tour kicked off with the Jessie Fleming penalty?
Yeah, it was the perfect start to the tour.
I mean, it was scripted. Obviously, it wasn't. This game was not fixed, but it could have been scripted. Let's put it that way.
Who were they missing? Grosso and Ashley Lawrence? Anyone else?
I think that was it, because I know Grosso's still with the team, but she's got a medical issue just now.
Right. Was Utema there?
Yes.
Yeah, she played.
The whole everyone came over that was on the gold medal squad.
I like the jerseys. It was nice to see the jerseys with gold in the Canada, the CSA's logo and gold and stuff.
Yeah, I saw some of the highlights. So
just over 16,000 people there as well today, which was a good turnout.
Good.
Next game on Tuesday
in Montreal.
In Montreal. Yeah, our friend Har is over at those 2 games as well.
So what's the over/under on going above 5 goals in the next one?
I think they'll do the same.
My hope was that like Sinclair would this tour, whatever long it would get her to the 200 mark. So I think she has is it 12 to go?
I have said to her that if she gets to speak to any of the New Zealand girls, to ask them about Celebrity Treasure Island that I've been watching for the last month. I've been really into my Kiwi TV in the pandemic. Before today's game for Canada, there was 2 big announcements. One, the Canadian Women's Players Association has now got an official partnership with CAN PFA. So that is great for the future of the sport here. And then a statement was issued before the game by Canada Soccer on behalf of the women's national team regarding safe sport. And we won't go into all just now because it's obviously a very serious topic and we want to give this a bit of time, maybe get Hart involved in our discussion for this as well. But it's all around commitment, accountability, safe sport for all. It follows, obviously, the Barada thing that's going through the courts just now, everything that's happened down in the US with coaches down there, and just to get a safe sporting environment for the women and the girls' football throughout Canada. It's a fantastic step forward, a long-needed step forward, but it's just the start of everything and what you feel could be the tip of an iceberg of things that's been coming out recently as well. But great to see.
Yeah, I think there's lots of people who think this is long overdue, and obviously, I mean, it would be nice to have the court stuff all settled, and so we could have clarity.
Yeah, it feels like that's never getting a settlement at this stage.
Yeah, like it's been a year of. It feels like it's been like 10 months of.
8 adjournments now, is it?
Yeah, which I don't think that's.
We'll cover that another time as well.
Yeah, but I think once that gets finalized, it'll help. It might help with this situation and how things move forward. But yeah, I mean, lots of people today talking about how they feel this is great that they made the statement, but they feel it's like long overdue, and I'm pretty sure the players felt it was long overdue.
And for me, like this is definitely something that should have been done ages ago. And a lot of people ask Canada Soccer why this is not being addressed, because they had a hand in this, because he was a coach in their system as well. I think it was U20 or what, I can't remember what level it was.
Yeah, U20s. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that this was, and they're the national brand. Like people are ragging on the Whitecaps all the time, but they were the national part of it, where they should have addressed it much sooner than what the Whitecaps should have. And for me, and I know again, no foundation, nobody's probably going to ever confirm this, but I think this has a little bit to do with the national women's team using this tour to make sure that this gets announced. And maybe, and I'm not saying they did, but there might have been some mention of threatening not to play these games. And you know how important these games would be to CSA's like bottom line, essentially, because they're getting big crowds there. And they might have threatened, like we've seen it in the past where the U.S. women's soccer team has threatened not to play games. And all the stuff that's and they probably saw that all the stuff that's happening in the NWSL with all the things going there, like people resigning, people getting fired and stuff like that, that let's get this going as well. And it's good that they used this if they did. And I don't know if they did or not, but if they did, fantastic use of this celebration tournament to get something addressed that should have been addressed in the first place on its own.
It's certainly long overdue. Hopefully the start of big change in the game here. And it's a serious topic. We want to give it proper airplay. So once Har's back, we'll get her together. As I said, I want to speak to Emma Humphreys as well. We've got some audio. I had a chat with Bev Priestman recently around the League One BC having a women's league and what that can mean to the women's sport here. So we'll bring that out, maybe in a special episode as well. We might even wait till the season's finished as well and do some of that stuff as well. But that is pretty much it for this week's show. Before we go, let everyone know where they can find you online and anything you might have learned this week, Zach.
Yeah, for me, it's at Zach Graham on Twitter, and 2 games without the Fawns, both ending 4-0 wins. It was good for Bayern Munich. I just hope he gets back on the pitch so that he's good to go in November. Hashtag Fonzie Watch.
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat.
Yeah, folks can find me on Machine Show on Twitter. And what I've learned is actually as related to Zach with Bayern Munich. Well, Julian Nagelsmann got COVID, and apparently 5 players on the squad didn't get vaccinated. So it was interesting to me.
Yeah.
That's a big topic right now.
I saw some stuff. Yeah, I saw Manu tweeting some stuff out about that.
Yeah. He picked it up in Portugal, Jay Nags. So yeah, he's they're in the Champions League, so he had to take a private ambulance
plane by
himself, and he's in quarantine. So yeah, Top Muller's been overseeing things on the sidelines right now. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things play out in terms of those who haven't been vaccinated. And
exactly,
that's 2 things to worry about with Fonzie now.
Right.
I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca, and give us a follow on YouTube, youtube.com/AFTN Canada. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We have all our VMSL videos up on that. Had a good one from a cracking game I saw on Friday night there. We will be back soon. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care, stay safe, Mon the Caps, and Allez la Rouge!
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but